Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. My name is Steve, otherwise known as Pin, and today we're going to take a look at the Aegis Idris. Now, this video is relatively long guys, and I've condensed it as much as I can. I actually had to cut the lore aspect of this ship because the video went on for 1 hour and 20 minutes. So unfortunately, as much as I wanted to include it, I've had to remove it. Okay, we're going to primarily take a look at the Idris M, courtesy of Squadron 42. There's a lot we can look at. There's a lot we can theorise on. It's going to be a lot of conjecture, a lot of guesswork, because until the ship is here and in a flyable state, anything could change, right? They've already started swapping weapons around and things like that from what I'm aware of. We will touch on the Idris P and the Idris K. I'll try and explain the differences between these. But primarily, it will be the Idris M. We've got a lot to talk about. There's a lot of guesswork involved as well, and how I think things are going to play out. So yeah, quite a lengthy video. Hopefully we can have a bit more of an in-depth, by the end of this video we should have a bit more of an in-depth sort of feel for the ship, I would say. Nothing set in stone, so just bear that in mind. So with all of that boring stuff out of the way, let's begin our journey aboard the Aegis Idris. Okay, so to better understand the ship, I think it's important to first take a look at the layout of the ship, right? So it's a big ship. Started as a Corvette, it's now a frigate. So this, what you see now, is the blueprint schematic of the layout of the ship. Okay, and we're going to start at the rear. So we have the turret, then a briefing room. Adjacent the briefing room, we have the engine room. We have 2 escape pods and EVA suit bays adjacent. Okay, then we have a lift room, an engineer station, 2 of them. We have the brig and the cells and the guard room at the bottom of your screen. At the top, we have the shooting range, ready room, and an armory. Then we have 2 flights of stairs that will take us to another deck. Then we have the cargo bay, 2 cargo lifts, 2 bathrooms, the sleeping quarters. Adjacent to the sleeping quarters, we have the mess hall. Adjacent to the mess hall, bathroom, 2 corridors leading to stairs to the pilot ready room and the control room. Then we have the captain's quarters. Opposite the captain's quarters, we have the XO's quarters. Then we have 2 more EVA suit bays, missile room, med bay, and of course, all important escape pods on the nose of the ship, and another turret entry point. So already, and this is just one deck, is quite complex, okay? Quite a complex ship. Now, I imagine, because it features heavily in Squadron 42, that when this ship comes to flyable, which won't be for a while, we need server meshing and at least 5 or 6 systems, I would guess, before we even get this. But when it is released in a flyable state, it will be highly polished in my opinion, because it's been in Squadron 42. And from what I've seen, it does look pretty damn good already. So now we're going to move on to the Idris bridge. And we'll start from the top. So we have another turret entry point, some stairs that lead to the center deck, and then we have the main bridge, a lower bridge, a lift, and then at the bottom we have another turret entry point, a center deck, and right at the back we have the component room. Okay, that's all located on the bridge level of this whopping machine. It's so big I could see myself getting lost in this, to be honest. It's ridiculously big. We also have, okay, the Idris Argo hangar deck with 2 turret entry points, the Argo hangar, and a dedicated room for gravity. And it needs to be, with a ship of this size. It isn't exactly tiny, so yeah, plenty of places to navigate, plenty of places to explore. Now, I've done my best to sort of find the various clips and tailored those clips to a particular room, so we have a sense of continuity, let's say. And finally, we have the Idris upper hangar with the two control room, a control room and a pilot ready room, sorry, which are adjacent and above the main flight hangar, which is obviously going to be one of the main selling points for this ship. So, in terms of just pure size and space used, you could argue that the Idris is very well designed in terms of using its space. There is very little wasted space, which is like one of the complaints that CIG had when first building ships. So I imagine this is going to use all of that space to its full potential. So the first place we're going to take a look at is, of course, the bridge. Now, straight away, first thing that jumps out to me is that massive hollow table, nav table. Plenty of workstations here. You can sort of tell it's an Aegis ship, right? These are very sort of early on images, so expect things to change heavily, but we can still sort of get a vibe as to how this ship is going to look and feel. Nice and wide, very beefy bridge, which I like. It does seem quite industrial though. I'm not quite as keen on all of the orange, because when I see that I just think industrial, not military, so that could change. I hope it does. Very bare bones, but very sort of roomy and sci-fi. Plenty of screens and buttons and lights in and around the bridge area. So let's take a physical walk through then. So into this elevator, we come to some buttons, we hit that, we go up towards the bridge. Okay, doors open. First thing you'll notice, nav table. On the left, 2 workstations. On the right, 2 workstations, another computer panel there. I imagine this would be the sort of flight engineer area of the bridge. Pure conjecture, I don't actually know. That is my educated guess. We have 3 more on the right hand side workstations. We have like a guy here working away. But the view is awesome. I like it, except for the front of the ship. I think we could probably get rid of 1 or 2 of those struts just to give it a bit more visibility. So I imagine you're going to want to run this bridge manned at all times. If you could, in a human crew, be awesome. This ship is going to be expensive to run. We know that much, so using NPCs could be pretty costly. But yeah, this is a great view, don't get me wrong, but I think these 2 lower struts could probably get gone. This young lady, probably the pilot, she's got a HOTAS and throttle there, and we have 2 more workstations here. She's having a lovely chat, you know, and she's telling me to shut up. She's on the phone to her mum, fair enough. At the back, you can see in the distance there, we have a view of one of the turrets. And this is another workstation. So it is very big and roomy, the bridge, but also, I don't know, I'd like to see some more floor lighting, maybe a carpet to give it that bridge feel. But overall, it's a very cool looking bridge. I have no real complaints. Now obviously these images are old, so anything could change, but I just feel like it could do with a little bit of bringing to life this bridge area. But for a basic layout, it is very nice to see what we're going to be playing with here, because it is awesome. See that guy? He was loitering. If I catch you loitering on my ship, you're getting spaced. Look at him. Look at this guy. Oh, it ain't happening. So yeah, there's plenty of room to navigate in and around the bridge. It's very sort of practical. There's no nonsense. Lots of cool lights and computer panels and all that good stuff. I don't know what every station's going to do. I just don't. I imagine they're needed, or else why would they be there, right? But it's certainly going to be exciting to find out when we get to a point. For any of you lucky Idris owners out there, the only difference in terms of ship layout between the Idris P and M is the missile launching bay is replaced for more cargo in the Idris P. In terms of layout, everything else is the same from what I've read and understand. Again guys, a lot of conjecture here, so if you think I've missed anything, that's pertinent to the video or you'd like to put in, then by all means please do, you know. Let's talk about this ship because it's awesome. So very roomy, very practical. I don't hate the visibility. Like I said, it's very good. Just don't like those two struts at the front. Apart from that, it feels pretty cold, you know. It needs a bit more polishing. Let's change the colour of the orange as well. I'm not a fan. It's too industrial, in my humble opinion. Okay, now let's talk about one of the key points of the Idris, and that is its onboard hangar. Now, in this image, you can see it does in fact have an Argo and two Gladius packed. Either works, and it looks cool. It is a whopping hangar. Now, I know there are going to be people that say, I could get 50 arrows in there. Yeah, I have no doubt. I have no doubt about that. But for today, we're just going to stick to what we know it has, okay? Just for simplification. I'm sure there will be players that ram this the hangar full of all different types of vehicles. The cool thing about the Idris, of course, is not only can we store flyable ships, but there is the possibility to store multiple ground vehicles in here, because courtesy of the ramp that the Idris has, we could do some ground assaults in this. Imagine doing a ground assault in an Idris and Nova tanks just rolling out. That's going to be so cool. So definitely a very important area of the ship. And as you can see here, it looks awesome. Okay, it just looks so freaking cool. Again, my only complaint is this heavy use of orange. It doesn't scream military to me. It screams industrial, right? That's the only thing I would change, is the colour scheme in here. To what? I'm not sure. I'm just having a little bitch. So it is very cool. It's like a one-way system, okay? They all take off one way, but they do have to land from the rear of the ship. So they take off from the front of the ship, go do what they need to do, and they will come and land via the rear of the ship. It's a one-way traffic system, which is going to be key. You're going to have to remember that there could be a problem if you try and store like 50 arrows. Trying to get them out or scramble them is going to cause problems. But it is extremely cool in here. So there we have one of the control rooms. I believe that's the pilot ready room on that side, and the other one is the control room, or vice versa. Sorry, I've forgotten which side is which. So they overlook the hangar. The pilot ready room, you have your pilots in there ready to scramble or get ready for the next mission, and then you have like a flight control room built in on the other side. So it's going to be cool. It's going to be cool. This whole clip here is just awesome. I can't wait to do this. So this woman is like, yeah, your ship's ready. Let's do this. Helmet on. Your adrenaline's pumping. Into the Gladius. Canopy down. And look at all the crew running around. Are we going to need crew to fulfill that role? Can we get humans to do it, or would it be AI? Like a modern day carrier? Hangar doors open. How epic is this? Getting geared up. The adrenaline's pumping. It's almost time to launch. Mr. Hamill. Flight crew. Send. Send it. It's just awesome. So as you can see, it is a one-way flight sort of system that the Idris will be using. There's going to be needed, coordination will be needed. You're not going to be able to scramble many ships like the Kraken can, for example. It's going to take time and coordination to get your ships out on time to deal with whatever mission you're doing or a particular threat. We're good to go. Hell yeah. And on the return journey, your pilots are going to have to remember which order, you know, the person that lands first is going to have to land towards the front of the ship to make room for everyone else following, depending on who lives or not, to successfully land these ships. So a little bit of coordination will be needed, but again, very cool. I think you'll agree. This whole sequence is just awesome. So a very important part of the ship is, of course, this gigantic hangar. Again, I really look forward to getting in here and getting a sense of the scale. Be very interesting to see what we can fit, what we can deploy. What are you planning to do with your mighty Idris hangar? I am interested to know if you've got a sort of plan in mind of what vehicles you intend to store in here, because there is quite a lot of flexibility, right, with the ramp, and the fact that we can carry flight ready combat ships is going to be very important for the Idris. So I'm interested, so let me know. But this is a great little shot here, as we can see just how massive this area is. Okay, let's now talk about the briefing room and how important this room will be for the ship. This is really the brain center of the entire ship, and it will be very important in terms of how you conduct your operations in and around the verse. Now, as you can see, there's about 12 or 15 seats there that I would imagine you're going to save for the people that deserve to sit there, right? So your officers, people that you can rely on. Everyone's going to need to be briefed on what's going on to run this ship effectively. We've got a nice hollow table at the back there. Seats are staggered so the people at the back can see what's going on. And in this particular clip, we get this awesome hollow nav table briefing screen thing, which looks awesome. Whether or not we get that in the PU, that would be really cool, right? Maybe some sort of mission editor that you could show towards your officers and your crew. Something I would like to see, but again, that's another tangent. That's me going off on a tangent. So there's Mr. Hamill, and as you can see in the background, looks like we're going to send some Gladius out on patrol, or through some sort of canyon maybe. Seems to be a starfarer up there that's wrecked. So all very exciting stuff. And I'm looking at the detailing of the room. It looks really good. He gets a phone call from this woman, and he's like, okay, shut up, and hangs up on her. Nicely lit from what we can see here. Again, I expect a lot more polish in the future. This is a fairly old clip, but it's good to get a feel for the sort of room you're going to be in briefing everybody, or on the receiving end of a brief. It's going to be really cool to be sitting here doing your thing in and around the verse. Again, very important. The briefing room is going to be essential to how the Idris operates. Now let's talk a little bit about the Argo hangar, which I think is a great little addition for the Idris. Okay, we could use the Argo for personnel running planet side to space stations, picking up medical supplies, dropping off medical supplies, ammunition, just food, who knows. But the ability to have an Argo on board is certainly something awesome and adds a little bit more flexibility to this ship, right? Instead of landing planet side, we can send the Argo. So again, nice feature. Whether or not we get more than one in there, judging by that, I think it'll be tight, but who knows. Let's now talk about the mess hall, where all the crew are going to go eat and drink and socialise, etc. You'll notice it's very sort of basic cooking facilities at the moment. From you can see here, there's TV screens, some trellises. I imagine those screens will be displaying ship information, maybe where you are, where you're going, maybe some entertainment for the crew while they're eating. Pure conjecture, of course. Plenty of room for everybody here. Not everyone's going to be eating at the same time. There's going to be shift patterns on the ship this side. She's loitering and getting spaced. But yeah, it's not massive, but it's adequate. Absolutely. Certainly very interesting. This guy, hard day's work. He's going to grab himself something to eat and a drink. Happy days, well done, mate, you've deserved it. Now, a ship of this size is of course going to require a med bay, because the last thing we want is the crew getting sick and getting space diseases like COVID, Spovid. That's the last thing they want. So in terms of what tier it's going to be, I couldn't tell you, but it at least has to match a Carrack, right? Let's go for that for now. But yeah, I like the look of this. Very bright, very light, very clinical, as you would expect from a medbay. Very clean, nice tidy lines. Again, expect much more polishing in the future. But overall, I like the look of this, and this is it's needed. There's no way a ship of this size could not have a medical bay. It's just not feasible to think that. So we'll see how effective the med bay is, but very much needed. Now let's discuss the captain's quarters. Okay, so as you can see here in this image, it's nicely lit, nice wide corridors in the on the Idris, and opposite this captain quarters is the XO's office. I couldn't find any images, unfortunately, regarding the XO's office, so we know it's opposite the captain's quarters via the blueprint that we saw earlier. So nice and clear, middle of B deck, I'm assuming. And here we have his office, which his quarters, you know, comfortable, clean, sofa. I like the way that the seat is a little bit higher than the sofa, so he can project a little bit of power with his raised seat. Display cabinet behind the sofa, some reading material. He's got a built-in TV into his desk. He's got another monitor on his right. So, very nice place for the captain to run the ship. I don't see any issues with it. Again, maybe some more polishing will come in the future, just to smarten it up a little bit. But overall, I see no issues with the captain's quarters. Next up is the massive gravity room with the massive gravity ball, as it needs to be to stop everyone from floating off into the distance. This is the only place, I would say, this and engineering, where I don't mind the colour orange. I think it's the correct colour for something like this. Projects hazard, and operating and working on a gravity room like this, I imagine, will be quite hazardous. So again, very big wide corridors. You can see the tiling, two of these arms rotating around the gravity ball, which is yeah, it's cool. I love the look of this. So sci-fi, right? So what we're going to do now, guys, is we're going to walk towards this decontamination room and then head into the engine room, and then what we'll do is discuss the engine components. The ship's components. So the components that the Idris will have will be 1 large radar, 6 medium computers, 2 size 4 power plants, 2 size 4 coolers, 2 size 4 shield generators. As you would expect with a ship of this size, it is going to be needing quite a lot of power and all the other good stuff that comes with that. It's nice knowing that we've got some 2 size 4 shield generators. Now, this could change at any point. You know, it's not set in stone yet, but those are a basic list of the components available to the Idris. I imagine it's going to be quite tough trying to fix some of these components, judging by what we're seeing on screen now. I mean, they don't exactly look particularly small, right? I would like to have at least a minimum of a 6-man engineering team on board the Idris to manage all of these components, because if something goes wrong, I can imagine it being quite a nightmare. But as you can see here, this is a very cool sci-fi room. I think we can agree on that. It does look really nice. So those are the components for the Idris as it stands at the moment. Moving on then, we have a brig on board the Idris, which is going to be handy. One, already here we go with my list of things. Prisoners of war, pirates, crew members that are getting drunk and causing mischief. So I can see this being very useful. Alien species that are misbehaving, that need to be locked up. Let's capture a vandal and shove him in there and perform experiments on him, you know. Let's really go to town on those bastards. So a lot of uses for a brig. Again, nicely thought. I like the look of it. Nice big cell doors for your prisoners of war, etc. These guys are, yeah, you're in jail, boy. That'll teach you. So that's a nice feature of the ship. I can see a lot of role play being played out with the brig, that's for sure. A lot of good times. Next up, we have an image of the escape pods. As we know, there's like 3 areas. There's one at the front of the ship, which I like because it's right next to the med bay, so people in and around the med bay can get. And we have 2 towards the rear of the ship. So plenty of escape pods. Hopefully, you never get into a position where you need to use them, but you know, it's always nice to be able to run away bravely, let's be honest. So now we are going to take a little walk past the escape pods so you can get a little feel for them. So nice and easy access to get in and out via the escape pods. Next up is, of course, the onboard armory, which is really cool as well. So I would like an officer stationed here to be dishing out weaponry. You wouldn't want someone you don't trust here running the armory, that's for sure. Locked away, secure. Everything seems fairly safe and secure when it comes to terms of releasing weapons to your crew, or maybe you've got onboard marines. So it's all going to be cool stuff. And here we're going to take a little look at how the armory might operate in the future. So here we have our Mr. Armourer typing away, and we need to grab some weapons, please. So we're going to take the combat knife, please. Boop! Under the drawer. Yeah, nicely safely stored. And he hands it to me the wrong way, by the handle. Fool. You're a fool. I'm immediately sacking you as armory officer. That is not how you pass the knife. But anyway, we're going to pick it up. Thank you. Yep. It's a good knife. I like it. Okay. Now I want a... Let's grab this pistol, please. And then watch this. He's like, okay, sure, no problem. Boop. It's just everything that we need is stored under his desk. I think that needs a little bit of fleshing out. But in terms of having an onboard armory, that's awesome. So we could... Already I'm thinking we could get some assault troops on board, some good old-fashioned soldiery, right? We have a guy dispensing weapons, ammunition, grenades, whatever we might need. It's good to know that we have an armory on board. That gives us more options. Whether or not we're going to store multiple weapons here, because it doesn't seem to be, although there is quite a few gun racks in the background, I don't think there'd be enough for a crew 28. So we'll see how that pans out. I'd like to see a few more gun racks there, if I'm honest, in case we get into a full-scale org war, for example. But yeah, the armory, very useful, lots of potential, many game loops to be exploited via the armory and the brig, so to speak. Next up, we have the control station, I think it is. It might be the flight ready room or a combination of both. I'm not entirely sure, but you can just see there in the background the hangar. So I would assume that this is in fact the control, like a mini air traffic control for your hangar, overlooking the aircraft in the hangar there. So very cool feature again. Look, 5 seats there. That's a lot of personnel, unless of course they're assigned their own workstations. So this, I think, is the pilot's ready room, because we've got some vending machines. We've got Mr. Hamill here working away in the background. So I think this is where you, as a pilot, if you're a pilot aboard, a fighter pilot aboard the Idris, will be getting ready to stand to and get to it. Should the need arise, you are easily able to scramble from this location, run down, jump in your ship, and go cause a lot of mayhem. So yeah, very cool stuff indeed. Just looking at all the amber lights, there's a lot of amber and orange in there that irritates me. So now let's talk about crew life and what it might be like to be on the Idris. Now, I personally think you are going to need a lot of players on board. I think 28 is extremely modest in terms of crew size, right? I think 55, 60 is probably more reflective on maximizing the potential of this ship. These guys here having a nice jog. That's how big this ship is. They're running around in it. So yeah, I do think, you know, if you account for maybe a doctor, medics, engineers, soldiers, pilots, 28 seems a little bit in my opinion. So in the game Squadron 42, they actually had to double it pretty much, as you can see here, because it's just not enough to run the ship. Here we have the crew quarters, which are they're essentially bunk beds in an aisle, next to the mess hall and the bathroom. Because you're going to have at least 24 people asleep. If we go by my rule of doubling it, which I think is probably the better way to look at it, you're going to have people on duty and people off, and the people off duty are going to be eating or sleeping. So this is the perspective of your morning or the start of your shift in the Idris. So you'll get up, stretch your arms, because, you know, get up. You'll notice that nobody uses their duvets. They all like freezing their ass off for some reason. So we open up this cabinet here. And this will be cool if we can get this in game. I'm sure it will. We'll be able to store all of our armor suits and maybe well, not a weapon, but some other luxuries that we could bring with us. A good old-fashioned Pico, because who doesn't want a Pico on an Idris? So very roomy, numbered as well. These guys are chilling, having a little chat, finishing shift, starting a shift. So yeah, I like it. It has a function. The function is sleep. That's about it, and then it takes you through to the mess hall. Now let's talk about cargo. So the space available to the Idris in terms of SCU is 831, which is fairly respectable. I don't see any issues with that at all. You're not exactly going to be cargo running. I can't see an Idris landing all the time to pick up cargo, but it's nice that it's there. It's going to be a lot of medical supplies, food, water, ammunition, a lot of logistics. So 831 is excellent. Don't forget, you're going to have to re-armor, refuel your ships, your fighter ships on board, or whatever vehicles you've decided to park in your hangar. So yeah, fairly important in terms of storing those things. There is also on board a shooting range, so that's awesome. So we can keep our elite troops on board. They can dial their eyes in, get zeroed, become effective, get some practice in. You're going to need it if you are on long journeys. There's also a sim pod here. These two pods that you see, which I imagine fighter pilots would get into and play Arena Commander to get better at dogfighting. Okay, so there's a lot of features on this ship that we only have images to, but yeah, certainly a lot to do on the Idris, and it's going to be awesome when it arrives. I'm really looking forward to it. Okay, so let's now talk about the Idris P and the differences between the two. Well, essentially it's a stripped down M, okay? It's got downgraded armor, but it is faster. It loses the missile turret in favor of more SCU, bringing it up to 995 compared to 831 of the M variant. It's sold for civilian use. It comes with 4 more remote turrets, but it does lose its railgun. Okay, so that's the sort of main differences between the P and the M. The M is just heavily armored, and it does have the railgun. The Idris P does lose the railgun. Now the Idris K, as far as I can make out, it is an add-on package for the P, which allows you to up arm the P to make it more combat effective with, like, maybe the railgun and some extra turrets and things like that. That's my understanding of it. Now let's talk about the weaponry for the beast that is the Idris M. So we have that ridiculous size 10 railgun. We have 5-man turrets with size 5 weapons, 2 remote turrets, 2 on the upper half of the ship and 2 on the bottom half of the ship with size 4s. We have 1-man turret on the nose with size 7 bearing M9A cannons, and of course the remote missile turret with size, which is a size 8 rack with 10 size 8 torpedoes. So this ship is certainly armed to the teeth, along with the awesome hangar and that devastating railgun, which will fire ammunition bigger than some ships, which is crazy. So the Idris is sort of like a watered down, the Idris P is a watered down version of the Mike variant, okay? And the Idris K isn't actually a ship itself, it's an upgrade package. So owners of the Idris P will be able to add more weaponry and things like that to the ship to make it a bit more combat effective. It was actually quite hard trying to track down the actual weaponry for the M, because they have added and removed things during its build, if you like. Now we saw it in Xenothreat. The devs have been quite open and honest with, they were throwing it out there and actually collecting data on how effective the ship was. So expect the weapons to change for future events, possibly another Xenothreat, so they can get the data, correlate that information, add and remove weapons where they think it might be needed. So what I've just rattled off there could all change. None of that is set in stone. We won't know, like I said, until it's in-game and flyable, but those are the sort of basic weapon information that I could come up with. So to summarize, the Idris, by all accounts, is an epic ship. I am very much looking forward to being part of the crew in Squadron 42. I am very much looking forward to its release. Just to clarify, that will not be anytime soon, okay? I think we need server meshing, we need Vulkan, we need at least 5 or 6 systems before they even contemplate implementing ships of this size into the game. However, there is nothing wrong with being excited about it. So guys, I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on the Idris? Do you own one? Do you have both variants? Do you want to buy me one? I'm joking. I want 2. Yeah, I'm just interested to know what you guys think. That's going to wrap up this video. I know it was a bit lengthy, took me ridiculous amounts of time to effort. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy today's video, guys, you know what buttons to press. And I will have, before I go, I will leave you with the ability to have a little walk around the Idris yourself. I've sort of put a little clip together where you can have a little tour of yourself. But other than that, guys, thank you very much for watching. And I will have more Star Citizen content en route to your location very soon. Thanks, guys. Cheers.